Hello everyone, welcome to America's Third Party. I'm David John Sponheim, running for president in 2016. We are talking tonight about technologies and innovations that could help clean up the environment. And we found out today that there was a massive spill of molasses in Hawaii. I'm going to bring you a little bit of that feed right now. You can take a look at it.
Of Sand Island.
I didn't know so many creatures were down there before, but they're all dead and they're all just laying across the bottom.
Wow.
Hundreds and hundreds, thousands.
All of these dead animals are actually 3 miles from Pier 52 where the spill occurred. The state health department says it picked up 1,000 dead fish from the area today, and it now has 3 boat crews working to remove more dead fish from the waters around Honolulu Harbor and Ke'ehi Lagoon.
Okay, that is a very sad event. Whenever you see major spillage of any sort, even molasses, it can cause irreparable damage to the biosphere and ultimately cause a lot of death and destruction. Interesting to note that a lot of the people in the marine biology sector kind of like throw their hands up and they go, oh yeah, it happens, you know, whatever. It's so sad. We don't hear a lot of people talking about how they're going to clean up the ocean. Now, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, there is a thing called the Pacific Gyre, the size of the state of Texas. In that area is nothing but plastic waste, plastic bottle holders and can holders that get in the nose of little animals that eat them and end up, you know, unable to open their albatrosses or end up showing up on the beach in various places around the world. And as a result of that, we're seeing generally a death in the intertidal zones as well. Not just the middle of the ocean, but the intertidal zones are facing imminent destruction. Now, I have a video here of the Gulf.
This is a black-gilled lobster.
Thanks.
This isn't a species. This is contamination.
Okay, this is an example of something they found in the waters off of the Gulf of Mexico, where Barack Obama, who claims that he's cleaned it all up, he put Corexit on top of the water so that all the oil would drop into the water and get into the shrimp supply, and then he allowed bad tainted shrimp into the population and changed the laws on how much oil can go into your shrimp when you're eating it at the table. Nice, huh? Instead of figuring out a way of getting rid of these problems, these people just come up with expanded rulings to allow for more pollution in our own personal environment, the food we eat. But there are technologies to fix these things. And these technologies are as simple as this technology right here. It's a separator that separates oil from water. I'm going to play a little bit of that for you so you can take a look at that too.
Pretend this backyard swimming pool is an ocean. By adding a few gallons of crude, a simulated oil spill disaster is created. The Richter system goes to work at an incredible rate of speed to remove the oil from the water, pumping up to 5,000 gallons per minute. The contaminated water is sucked out of the pool and into a tube. It spins very rapidly, creating a vortex.
Check this out.
The oil, which is lighter than water, is forced into the middle of the pipe. Here is the core of oil surrounded by the water. The water, heavier than the oil, spins to the outside.
There you have it, an example of great innovative technology. Now, Kevin Costner's brother took a lot of investment capital from Kevin Costner to create something similar to this, and that never really expanded out into a government project. I would have embraced that, and I would have started deploying these in the Gulf of Mexico and having BP force them to build barges that clean the water directly, not just wait for it to go away. You know, the old adage of dilution is the solution has been around a long, long time. Since the early 70s, we saw polluters continually throw it into the ocean thinking it's just going to disappear. Well, now we've got a problem with Fukushima putting out 300 tons of water every day that is radiated with nuclear isotopes. We're talking uranium, plutonium, cesium-137 that has a half-life of 60 years, all going into the ocean. Now, what's the quantity? 300 tons. It equates to about 30,000 gallons of water, equivalent to a large swimming pool being thrown into the Pacific Ocean every single day. You hear Obama talking about this? No. Obama canceled radiation testing on the western seaboard because he didn't think it was relevant. Well, let's be clear. I think I'd rather start a war in Syria. I think that's exactly what he's up to. He's starting a war in Syria too. That's right. Well, let's not worry about the environment. Let's start a war in Syria. So let's bring that up for a second. Take a look at that. You know, Obama and Kerry were pushing for 2 weeks for a war in Syria, saying there was momentum growing, support was growing, all the propaganda tools in the world were being deployed on you every day on Google, and all your networks were playing, oh yes, growing support for war in Syria, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden Russia throws this wrench into the whole thing. Vladimir Putin starts talking about how we need to get the UN involved. And if the UN was involved, then they'd be on board with something. And then they suggested that this plan to get the gases to look at by the UN would lessen the concern everyone is having about Syria and the dangers of this government. Well, that is one thing that stopped Obama in his tracks. They did an about-face. Kerry and Obama are now pretending to be peacemakers. You can imagine that. First they're war makers, now they're peacemakers, and they want to brand their activity as, oh, this is their idea, even though it was not. And now we're seeing another problem unfold. The Democrats and Republicans put their faith in the UN, and they're believing that this is some sort of a tool that will solve the problem. Well, actually, no, it's not. It's only going to be the beginning of a false flag operation that could turn it very ugly. Let me give you a website that I'm profiling here. It's a World News NBC site. They talk about how the jihadists are gaining ground in the Syrian rebel movement as moderates grow desperate. I'm sorry, but the money that our country has been sending the jihadists, the rebel troops in Syria, has been directly funded the Al-Qaeda forces. They even pulled the same Al-Qaeda forces that were operational in Libya, and even some of the rockets, 600 of the rockets were actually shipped up into Syria. Our country's been funding Al-Qaeda in Libya and now in Syria. And let me tell you something, this is not a win-win for Barack Obama. What this is a mess. It's a mess. It says if there's no action, everyone will be desperate. We are already desperate. We are dying, they said. Many will join Al-Qaeda. Even the educated will join them because no one else is helping. This is what a Syrian rebel is saying. But what's really happening is Obama has got us involved in supporting terrorism. That's really what's happening. And if he just said we shouldn't do anything in Syria, we should just pull out of the region and just bring humanitarian effort into Jordan and Iraq to deal with any spillover and let the civil war that's going on there go on. Because what's going to happen if the UN comes in? If the UN comes in and looks for gas or tries to find any gas shipments in that area, what will happen is they will encounter crossfire from a civil war. Both rebels and supporters of Bashar al-Assad will grab those chemical weapons because, ironically, most of the manufacturing is going on right there in the middle of the Ham region, the area that's the most active in the civil war in Syria. So if the UN comes in there, you know that they're going to be running into a crossfire from both sides, and if they're going to try to take chemical weapons out, you know that the UN will probably be killed, which will then be justification for John Kerry and Barack Obama to start another war. So we're really kind of playing into Putin's hand by allowing the UN to oversee this, but at the same time, all of this is because Barack Obama could not take a stand on Syria from the very get-go. Could not say that we can pull back and just wait and see and provide humanitarian effort. Instead, he wanted to get in there, he wanted to fire tomahawks, and he just wants to divert the entire attention of the American people away from the fact that he's got a 41% approval rating and dropping, and he doesn't deal with the problems like our environment. I'm going to go back to the subject of new technologies now. Here's a guy who's created a fuelless water heater that it's a miracle. I mean, he's using technologies that are brand new, that never developed before, and watch what he's doing. By breaking the strong force in water molecules, he's able to actually create heat, to create a hot water scenario without actually using fossil fuel.
He has struggled for 4 years to turn his spare time enthusiasm into a serious business. What he has tried to do is to capture the intriguing effect he noticed in that vibrating boiler pipe and use it to create a totally new water heater, one that works without any heat source. His company now produces what amounts to a well-engineered water hammer. It thumps and smashes the water fed into it, raises the temperature to boiling point or to steam in a matter of seconds to replace household or industrial boilers. In seconds it flows out of the cylinder as hot water or steam. What's so extraordinary about such an ordinary-looking machine is the claim that it is more than 100% efficient. More energy has been measured coming out in the form of heat or steam than the electrical energy needed to turn the rotor.
Did you hear that? It's actually using potential energy in water molecules to create heat, which is a miraculous innovation. Now, why aren't we working on innovations like this to save all kinds of money for our government and to actually spawn production and development in new profit centers for our nation and all of the private enterprise that could spill off from that? Why aren't we doing that instead of chasing a war over in Syria? What is wrong with Obama that he cannot grab the reins of this nation and lead us as opposed to start a war to divert people's attention from his bad ratings? I mean, this is the worst president we've ever had, and I hate to belabor my point every single night, but if we don't deal with this problem of Barack Obama's 3 remaining lame duck years, we as a nation are going to flounder for the next 3 years, and then the big question comes up, do you want to vote outside of your party? Because you, the voter, are perhaps the only person who can really make a decision that'll help our country. Because right now, you leave it up to government, and they're going to make the wrong decisions. You leave it up to the two-party system, they're not going to even ask the big questions. And you leave it up to the average American, we're just going to sit and watch TV. So really, if you are aware of the need for a third party, it's incumbent upon you to talk to everybody around you about a third party and to mention what we're doing at America's Third Party. And you can find us on the net at americasthirdparty.com and tweet us at Third Party. It'll help promote our idea. And we do a nightly show and talk to people 6 to 9 every night. Thanks for watching.